it looks kind of boring, doesn't it? The Marlin Camp 9. You might throw the Camp 45 in that assessment as well. But if you were to judge by looks alone, the Marlin Camp 9 is a total enigma of a firearm. It has been out of production since 1999. It has some quirks to it. There are some delicate parts in it, at least as it left the factory. I'll talk about that as the review progresses. And yet, it remains hugely popular. As you're watching this video, there are people bidding on used Marlin Camp 9s, Camp 45s, competing with each other to get this out of production gun. Hugely popular. By the way, count me in that group. I'm one of the adorers, obviously, because I'm doing a tabletop review. I spent a lot of money on it to get it to tabletop in testing and now review for my audience. Let me take you back to high school because there is a parallel. And I've done this in maybe one or two videos previously, DRV, KRV. Did you ever know somebody in high school who was immensely popular? Everybody talked about them. They were invited to all the parties. They never got left out of, I don't know, the ball games. Everybody wanted to hang out with them. Could be a girl, could be a dude. Super popular. And yet, you would look at them and you go, well, why are they so popular? You know, there's nothing special about that person. You know, even to this day, I know people like that. It's like they just attract a lot of people, a lot of friends. People, they just have charisma. That's really what it is. Maybe they have a really cool personality. They attract people and they gravitate to them. And it's an enigma. There's people I knew in high school to this day, like I said, I know them too. It's kind of funny. You're like, well, what's... Guys are especially that way. They'll see like a plain looking dude attract all the girls. You ever been there in high school, college? You go, what does that guy have? All the girls just go to him and he's really plain looking. The Marlin Camp 9 is kind of like that. Enigma. But man, do I love the gun. I love it. Hey Marlin, start making the Camp 9, maybe the Camp 45, but I would say the 9 is the way to go. Again, I think it would sell. Don't change too much about it. I want to talk about a couple improvements you might do if and when you were to produce it. But in a lot of ways, I think it would just capture the imagination again of a new group, a new generation of shooters, and they would love it. I think Marlin discontinued the Camp 9 because it was an expensive rifle to build. High quality levels, the materials generally are pretty good in it, American made. You know, I think that's why they quit doing it. It might have been a demand thing, I don't know. You know, around the time I'll post this video, I'm doing several non-tactical gun reviews. Some bolt-action rifles, a couple lever guns, now the Camp 9. It's not a tactical gun, in my way of thinking. Maybe that's one reason I like it. I mean, I shoot a lot of tactical guns, you know, black rifles, high firepower, accurate war-fighting machines. In a lot of ways, this is getting back to the Enigma thing, the Marlin Camp 9, if you were to talk about a PCC, has the same capabilities to a large extent, but it just doesn't have the appearance. It looks very plain Jane. Let's jump right into philosophy of use. It is a low-key appearance gun. It looks like a farming rifle, a ranch rifle, much like a wood-stocked Mini 14 does. It's non-threatening. Doesn't have a threaded muzzle, at least as it comes from the factory. It's not black. It looks very traditional. It's a good thing. And yet, in terms of pistol caliber carbines, dude, it can hang. Another philosophy of use is a drill gun. One, you set up steel targets and you go running and gunning with it, and I have videos posted on it where we show the Camp 9 in action. We did one with the Eat Lead drill, and then PFI dude and myself came out and we shot the PCCs again, pitting them up against each other. This was one of my favorite, and actually one of our favorite guns to run in the drills. It is a fun gun to shoot. Is it super light? Nope. Lots of guns are lighter. But naked at 6 pounds 9 ounces. I'm running a Bushnell TRS 25 on it. And with a 20 round Mech-Gar in it, it's weighing 7 pounds 1 ounce, which is actually a pretty good weight. But it's not the lightest around. But when you're actually running and gunning, kind of doing some competitive shooting, like I've said, the weight helps. It settles the gun down so you can make longer range shots, and it's just super fun. Super fun. How about home defense gun? Would it be a first choice? Let me say this. It wouldn't be a last choice. The only thing I think I'd really need is some way to attach a light on it so I could identify said bad guy. Hugely important, having a defensive light on your home defense gun of choice, whether it's a handgun, carbine, rifle, whatever. Shotgun, you should have a light on it. But, I mean, it's going to give you a lot more velocity and hitting power than your pistol would. For instance, Marlin, when this gun came out, used to run an ad bragging about how the 16, I think it's like a 16.5-inch barrel, gives you 22% more velocity, 50% more hitting energy because you got a longer powder burn. Now, with today's newer cartridges where they're a faster burning powder, is that advantage still there? I don't know. I didn't do any ballistic testing. I wasn't interested, but with a super hot load, you might see 1,800 feet per second coming out of your Marlin Camp 9. Less with the Camp 45, of course, but a bigger chunk of lead. It can get the job done. I mean, PCCs have a role. I have a whole video out there posted years ago how pistol caliber carbines do not suck after all. Might want to watch that. Recreation, I think, is a calling of this gun. It's a super fun gun to shoot. We enjoy it. We look for excuses to go out and shoot the Marlin Camp 9. Excuses. And I put it up against some really cool and high-tech competition, and while I'm shooting, I was like, well, I really want to shoot the Camp 9. It's fun. And PFI dudes the same way. I was like, we want to do it too. You might have a hard time finding it though. It's been out of production, like I said, since 1999. Are they out there? Yeah, they're still out there. Actually, we bought this one off an auction site used, and all the marks, scratches, and wear that you see came to us that way, like that scratch right there. Look, it still has the targeted by whoever that is at Marlin. I'm not taking that sticker off, not refinishing the stock. I really want to cover that in like clear tape so it will stay there forever. How cool is that? I guess we should talk about features super quick on the Marlin Camp 9. And this will kind of get to it being an enigma in the gun world. One, it has a wood stock. It's a birch stock. It's not the most beautiful stock in the world. It's not walnut, but it works. It's like a 1022 stock in my way of thinking. It does come with a really nice solid rubber butt pad, which I love, with a black spacer on it. Pistol grip version. Flat front end on the stock. No sling swivels, but they'd be easy enough to attach if you wanted to haul it around. Yep, polycarbonate lower and magazine housing, so it's not steel. I really don't know what year this one was made. Some people, I think, in the day really criticized this. They also did it with, what was it, the Ruger PC9 they used to make? Yeah, it's not like ideal. In other words, it's kind of right where your point of balance is, and some people complain, well, I don't like it sticking out. Honestly, I don't have a problem with it. I just adapt to it. This 20 round magazine is going to stick out further than the stock 12 round magazines do. But this is like my favorite mag. Going to firepower real quick, you can actually get whatever you want. This is a Mech-R once again. You can get 30 rounders for it. That's because it takes 5900 series of magazines for Smith & Wessons. For instance, the Daewoo DP51 mags work just fine in it. Someone was saying online they're having a hard time finding 5900 series of mags. I bought this one last year and they were out there, and they were pretty affordable. And this is probably the ideal size for it. If you get a 30 round stick, it's going to be down here. That gets a little bit ridiculous. This one, not too bad. How's the trigger on the Marlin Camp 9? It's okay. I wouldn't say it's awesome, but again, I haven't, worked it at all. i.e. gunsmithed it. Let's pull it just for kicks. Grand style safety, by the way, so it goes right here. That's fire. Love Grands, you know that. And anything that mimics it, I think, is probably pretty smart. I think this doesn't pull super light. Oh, that brings us to a really important point. Magazine disconnect. Ugh, I do hate that. I told you it had some quirks. That's one of them. You got to have the magazine in the gun. Unless you modify it, there's probably a thread out there how to remove the magazine disconnect from a Marlin Camp 9. I don't know. See, I pulled 9.5 off of that. That's not great. I thought it pulled 8 something a little while ago. There you go. We'll call it an 8-pound trigger. Shooting it, though, it wasn't a problem. We weren't, PFI doing myself, we're not like, oh, this sucks. And we shot it with PFI Dad in years past. We had some guests come to the project. They shot it with us. Not one of them ever said, oh, wow, the Camp 9 trigger sucks. It's awesome. Not so awesome, though, is the magazine release. This is a huge quirk. And Marlin, if you bring the gun back, you got to correct this. This is your magazine release right here, at least on this version. It's very small, it's indented, and it's hard to access. Does it work? Yeah, it works, but not ideal. I would like to change that. You know, there's your bolt charging handle. There's probably some other accessories I missed for the Marlin Camp 9 out there. Maybe there's a charging handle, but in my way of thinking, it's such a traditional gun. I don't want to tacticalize it. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't want to put a chote stock on it, a bullpup stock. I mean, there's other guns for that that would make more sense. The charm in this gun is that it is traditional looking, and yet it still can hang with tactical guns. Okay, that's part of the charm. I mean, good personality, like the high school example. By the way, that is a milled block of steel, speaking of cost for Marlin, on the Camp 9. I bet that wasn't cheap to make. Hey, why do we have to mill out a block of steel for the Camp 9 or the Camp 45? Hey, good point. Let's discontinue it. Solid steel micro groove barrel. We'll look at the accuracy here in a second. Standard buckhorn sight in the rear, folding variety. Hooded front blade. And by the way, when we got this one, the hood was gone. I had to order another one. Yeah, and another thing I had to order too, speaking of things that would break from the factory, is the buffer that's in the back here, and it stops that bolt from slamming into the back of the receiver, transmitting the shock to the stock. When it came out from the factory, they used a certain type of plastic that was very susceptible to dry rotting, cracking, crumbling, and it was a problem. And some people would shoot it even after it was gone, and you'll see cracked Camp 9 stocks, and that's why. That was kind of a weakness of the design. The good news is, and you'll see a screenshot here, is I went to Brownells, and they have a replacement buffer, very inexpensive. It's made of nylon. This particular one is made by Power Custom. It's like $7. So it was easy to install. Sure enough, when I took the gun apart, it crumbled. It fell into pieces, but I put the Power Custom one in there. Something else you want to watch out for is the hammer strut bridge may bend or break, and I ordered one of those to have it in stock as well, in case it ever happens. Mine and this gun was fine. I didn't see a problem with it. It's a super easy replacement if and when you need to do that. Back to features though. Non-threaded muzzle. Yay, traditional. You know, and at this point, since this gun is out of production and collectible, you know, do you really want to go threading it? Remember, they're selling for around $500 for a clean example. That's what we paid for this one. So that's not cheap, but if you start changing it, then that value is going to go, it's going to tank, man. How about accuracy? How about it's pretty awesome on the Marlin Camp 9. This is, again, with a non-magnified sight, shooting Fiocchi ammo in this instance, 50 yards in the desert. Yeah, I'll take that. That's pretty good. Out of a PCC. 25 yards shooting the iron sights, which I found to be adequate. However, they're not super precise. Got kind of a thick front blade there. You can see I put fluorescent model paint on it. First I put on 2 coats of white and then 2 coats of the fluorescent orange. This is Fiocchi again, 115 grain. I did have one jam. And I had a weird thing where the bolt wouldn't close. And you may see that in the video. And we really didn't know what was going on. And I mean, around, it was just like the bolt wouldn't close. Knocked it. There might be a catch there. I don't know. It happened very seldom though. Told you it was quirky. Still popular in high school. There's the groups there. Pretty good. That one's superb. So I would say, and I may show you some more accuracy examples in video, I'd say the accuracy is excellent on it. Again, micro groove barrel, high quality. But it's so funny as I'm going point by point, none of the features like stands out as being, oh, so outstanding. But together as a whole, the whole appearance, the balance of the gun is very excellent, by the way. And the recoil impulse is minimal. It's just a really, really fun gun to shoot. Track record I kind of talked about. We did have maybe 1 or 2 jams. I don't know if I could attribute it to the ammo. We did have a bad batch of ammo, and it could have been. Generally, you'll find that Camp 9s, Camp 45s are extremely reliable. That they'll feed all types of loads. Some guys will put in a stronger recoil spring if they're running plus Ps. Here's what I think about that. I think a lot fewer people run plus Ps than say so online. I mean, I read a lot of stuff. Hey, I run plus Ps. Do you know how expensive plus P ammo is? It's like, 150% of the cost, at least. I'm just ballparking, but it's not cheap. So if you go out running a gun and playing, are you going to be running plus Ps? I don't know. You could put, Wolf makes the springs for it, the recoil springs, put in a stronger spring, run standard pressure ammo, and see if it cycles. It probably will. And then if and when you want to put a plus P in for a defensive load, that is realistic. You're set for that. And I talked about the bolt thing there too. That's about it. Other than that, quality-wise, these guns last and last and last. If you watch out for that buffer thing I was talking about. Field strip, look it up online. I'm not going to cover it now. How about accessories? How about don't change the stock? I wouldn't. I would just run the wood stock on it. They did have a version with a checkered stock. It was pressed checkering, not cut checkering. And it was a later model of the Camp 9 before it went out of production. That's a really cool and more rare example of it. And I think it had some other enhancements to that version as well, and then they discontinued it. Muzzleloader makes a bullpup stock. Boyd's Magnum Research makes some thumbhole stocks for it if you want to do it. I don't know. One thing you might want to think about, though, is putting on some Williams sights. I think there are a lot of sight sets from Williams. They have a receiver peep sight set that you could outfit onto your Camp 9. You might have to tap it back here. It might fit in those holes. I really didn't check. That would actually be a pretty cool addition to the Camp 9. I don't think it would ruin the rifle at all. You could lose the weight of the scope rail, which I have mounted the TRS 25 onto. And it would maintain it would gain a longer sight radius. From here to here is your stock sight radius. If you put a receiver peep, it's back here. I did mount one of those on its brother or cousin, the Marlin 336, and man, I'll tell you, I love it. The Williams receiver mounted peep sight, it's excellent, easy to adjust. It doesn't have the strongest retention screws in it. They are kind of tiny screws, but you shouldn't have to change it, and it won't loosen on you if you just snug them down. That's about it for accessories. I talked about putting a sling on if you wanted to. Value and options, again, around, I don't know, I would say maybe $450 to $550 depending on it. All that's subject to change. If the gun never comes back, I think the values will continue to climb and climb. And people just love the gun. I'm one of those people, by the way. But to get to value and options, you really need to decide what you want the gun for. If you're going to say, hey, I want a recreational gun, somewhat collectible gun, but maybe secondarily I want a home defense gun, then other guns I would consider would be the M1 carbine. Love that gun. I mean, it hits a lot harder than a 9mm does. I've said that in every PCC review I've done. The M1 carbine is cool. Good firepower, super lightweight. It's lighter than this gun, actually, and it hits harder. I did a review on the CZ Scorpion Evo 3S1. Whew, that's a long name. Incidentally, outfitted, and that's with that arm brace. It's the same weight, 7 pounds, 2 ounces. So it weighs exactly the same with that rubber arm brace as the Marlin Camp 9. Interesting. High point 995, just right carbine. That Tresna Jag 9 is a great gun. Love that gun. It's kind of an dedicated AR-15. We shot that gun and we came away extremely impressed. Very accurate and was very reliable. Stag 9T, I think that's way overpriced. I did review that one too. SIG MPX. It's kind of like a more expensive version of the CZ Scorpion. Some people would say better. There's all kinds of threads fighting against each other on that, I'm sure. Beretta CX4. I'm not too stoked on that. Rock River Arms LAR 9. Sub 2K. I like the first gen by Keltec. But here's the thing. On those competitive options, they're really getting into that tactical realm. You've gotten away from the specialness that is the Camp 9. I mean, a lot of people look at the Camp 9 and it's like, well, what's that good for? I mean, it's not super lightweight. It's not super compact. It is a pistol caliber. To those people, I say you need to shoot one. Shoot one and then talk to me. And then you'll get it. You'll go, oh, okay, this gun shoots really, really good. I can actually hit things with this gun. If you were to run a steel course, and I've shown this in the project before, running a PCC versus a pistol, your PCC performance will dominate the pistol performance. If I set targets, I don't know, 15, 25, and 50 yards, which gun do you think will do better on? That's right, a PCC you will. That's because it's a shouldered weapon. It's more stable. Is it easy to carry into the fight? Well, not really. Firepower is adequate, I say. 20 rounds, I mean, that's enough. I would like 30, but with this configuration, the form factor, 20, like I said, makes the most sense. Good luck trying to hunt one down. I hope you guys can get it. If you do, probably hang on to it. Use it as a family hand-me-down, heirloom, collectible, Marlin. If you watch this video, think about it. Think about bringing it back. Things I was going to say about the enhancements, maybe improvements you could do. I don't know if you need to go with a steel receiver. You might go with aluminum. It wouldn't be as special, but it would lighten the gun up a lot. And I don't think you would lose any durability to it. You'd have to do some testing, of course. I would go with a walnut stock. And I would option 2 versions. Have a basic version, maybe with a birch, and another one with a walnut cut checkering. Stay with the same magazine housing, polycarbonate. I have no issues with that. Might lighten the trigger up a little bit. Grand safety's perfect. Make this magazine release bigger. Get rid of the magazine disconnect, please. Stay with a solid rubber butt pad. Stay with the sights as they are. Bring it back. Done. You might have a version, the deluxe version might have the front sight set back a little bit and thread it. I tell you this, even though it's not a tactical gun, a lot of buyers would like to have it threaded. That's Nutnfancy Review.